Have you ever thought just how boring or ridiculous news commentary is today? Welcome to the Real Jacks Podcast with Jim and Larry. The Real Jacks Podcast. From crime and politics to entertainment, you can expect something different. Now, let's get real, Jacks.
Hey, welcome back to Real Jacks with Jim, Larry, Crawfish, and today's special guest host, returning Norm Brewer, Storm and Norman.
Glad to be here, guys.
Good to have you back. Special guest today, everybody's going to love this, homegrown Southern blues artist, J.J. Gray from Mofro. Welcome.
Thanks.
Good to have you.
Yeah, good to be here.
Larry's got to talk about our sponsors, and then we're going to chat with you.
Come on.
All right. Bounce the Roof Fund, Mike Kellum, former JSO and friend, serving North Florida for over 15 years, over 10,000 parties. Bounce the Roof offers a large selection of inflatable hoppers, water slides, interactive games, concessions, frozen drinks. Offers large event tents, tables, and chairs. Always discounts to first responders. If you run on the weekend, you keep it the whole weekend. Norm Brewer.
How about it?
District 11. We need fighters that will truly represent us on the city council. Norm Brewer is that guy. He's a constitutional conservative. He's a former law enforcement officer, successful businessman. Norm will call it like he sees it, and when you have no better candidate in the race. Extreme Wings. I did these out of order just for you.
You did. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Ads. Extreme Wings, 4 convenient locations. Obviously, my employer. Family Sports Restaurant Grill, more than just wings. Tremendous Barbecue, open since 2007. 8927 Hurlong Road, open 11 to 8 Tuesday through Saturday and Sunday 11 to 3. Full barbecue menu, everything homemade. They cater anything, and they love first responders. Advanced Window Tent, Ricky Tillman's place, one of your buddies.
That's right.
5024 Sunbeam Road, over 26 years experience here. 3M Platinum dealer, highest level of 3M dealer around. They tent vehicles, homes, and businesses. They do all my vehicles. D-Way Towing, our buddy Doug. 100 South Jackson Avenue. Phone number is 904-356-3929. He does all your towing needs. And Shannon Judge with Legends of Real Estate. Shannon Judge Real Estate at gmail.com. Her phone number is 904-200-8158. I didn't miss anything, did I? All right.
No.
Well, we're good.
That was quick.
So we got, obviously, J.J. Gray. That's what you go by, J.J.?
Yeah.
Okay.
JJ or John. It don't matter.
Okay. But it's John Higginbottom Jr., right?
No, Gray. John Gray.
John Gray. I don't. Yeah. So your dad was the police, right?
Yes, he was.
JSO?
That's right.
Yeah. For how long?
30-something years. Finished up in the as a bailiff in the courtroom.
That's awesome. And you,
Judge Ruth.
Judge Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And you grew up on the west side.
That's right.
I know this, but I want everybody else to know this too.
Yeah, I grew up.
Yeah, that's how we do over there.
Right on the edge of White House. Not officially in White House.
Where at?
I was officially White House. He was on the outskirts.
That's right.
Where were you at?
I was on the end of Crystal Springs Road near Chafee.
Okay. Yeah, you're not far. I'm on Otis Road right now.
Okay.
So I'm not far from where you grew
I
up.
got a buddy from out there, Double W. So.
Yeah. Wayne Scarborough Jr.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know that was your buddy. That's pretty cool. And they had skeet shooting and now it's a motorcycle track.
That's right.
You ever go out there and watch them?
I have. Yes, I've gone out there and he gave me a run around and scared me half to death climbing up that hill in a gator. I thought I was going to die. I'm going to crawl down this hill, man.
Yeah, I'm going to roll down this thing. Yeah. So that's cool. So you started music. Were you doing it in high school? And you went to Ed White, graduated?
Yeah, no, I really wasn't doing it in high school. I was too busy surfing and skating and doing stuff like that. I didn't really I kind of messed around with it, but it was after I got out of school that the only gig you could get was playing in bars, so I was too young. Although I started singing in bars when I was 17.
Did you really?
A lot of bars.
Y'all formed the group around 96? Sound about right?
It was
mid-90s?
Probably mid-90s, but there really wasn't a group. It was just me and my buddy Daryl, and we just started saying, I came up myself. This guy at work called me Mofro, so I'm like, I'm just call it.
I was going to ask you, how'd you come up with Mofro?
My buddy at the lumberyard used to say, "What's up, Mojo?" or Mofo or Mofro in the mornings, and I said, "I'm gonna do that."
It's probably Mofo, but Mofro sounds better on stage.
I think it all means the same.
Yeah, pretty much. And so you weren't playing instruments or anything before school?
You know what? I had a guitar I bought from somebody, a friend of mine in Old Normandy Village. He sold me an amplifier that didn't work in a little old Western Auto Silvertone, or excuse me, True Tone, which is the same thing, Silvertone guitar, and it had 3 or 4 strings on it, and I used to play it. You could plug it in. My dad's little old stereo, he had a little old input, and you could plug it in, and it was distorted and just play on one string. And eventually, after I got out of school, my parents bought me an acoustic guitar for Christmas one year, and I was ecstatic, you know, and I took it and ran over there to show my neighbors what I got, and they're like, hey, come look at what we got, and I leaned it up against the back bumper of their mom's car, an old Malibu, 4-door Malibu. Back then it was new, and they backed up and ran over it on accident. I'm like, who would drive anywhere on Christmas morning? But they were just moving the car, and they backed over the guitar. My dad's like, the next one you gonna get. So that's when I bought that True Tone one. And then after I got a job, I was working at an air conditioning company over in Marietta. I eventually bought a Fender guitar. It's kind of like a Strat, but it only had one bridge pickup, and I bought it from American Music Store, whatever it was over there across from Pizza Inn, where Pizza Inn.
That's where Skinner used to buy all their stuff from there.
Yeah,
Lennox.
Lennox, that's right. That's where I bought it from. I bought the first real guitar, and I bought an amplifier there. Put it on layaway.
Mm-hmm.
Then you started with the two guys, and then you just kind of developed and started playing more instruments, because I know you play a lot.
Well, you know, that just came over years of people doing like I did today, being late, and so I'd start playing on the drums or playing on keyboards till somebody got there and could really play it and mess around, you know, and then I figured out a few things on the guitar, and then I just translated it to the keyboard, and then just kept doing it, and then.
Never took any lessons?
No, I really needed to.
Do you read music?
No, I mean, I could sit down and figure it out, but just like.
But you've got your own way of figuring it out, right?
Yeah,
right,
exactly. Yeah. I can't sight read, but
that was like me in algebra. I couldn't do it the way the teacher taught me, but I figured out my own way of doing it. But you know, the Beatles, half of those guys couldn't read music.
My mom can't. She played piano and sung in churches across the South, and she learned it by ear. The whole half the family did.
Well, I think it's the same as English language, because you know, I know people that couldn't read or write. They're older at all, completely illiterate, but no one would ever know that they can still talk, carry on conversations with everyone. You just don't know that they can write it. They can't write it all down.
Yeah,
and that's all. You know, before recorders were built, a piece of paper was the only way to record music, to keep it. Where other people could actually
keep it consistent,
that's right. Be consistent with it, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, you started. When did JJ Gray and Mofro, the whole band, start?
So, let's see, maybe in the mid '90s. My wife, we weren't married at the time, but she lived in London. I had visited London, and it's the only big city I'd ever been to in my life at that point, really, that I knew somebody in, actually. I'd been to New York once in around 91. But, you know, there was a record label over there that was interested in doing doing something. So I went over there, and Daryl came over, and he had to go back home eventually for a while. Actually, he went back home for a pretty good while, because they didn't want to turn around and let him right back in again. He went home, and they're like, no, you got to stay gone for a minute, you know. So I was in the process of filling out a immigration thing to be able to get same thing as a green card here.
Right.
Just, you know, I'm still a U.S. citizen, but I could stay for longer in England. And so I stayed there for probably almost 2 years, and just put together an ad in Melody Maker, which is like a local music paper in London, and put together a band, a bunch of different people. Some people couldn't do it, some could, you know, and so the floating cast of band members. And then I finally got a couple of guys that kind of settled, and Acid Jazz, which was the label, they had gotten into a giant lawsuit with organization there, so they kind of forgot about the record business for a while. And so the internet was just really starting to get going. This is around 2000 or 90. No, I'm sorry, this is around 98. The internet started getting going, and I found a record label in San Francisco called Fog City Records, which is, and I just emailed him, and he emailed me back, told me to send me something. I sent it to him. He liked it, and he sent me what he was doing, and I loved it. And he says, so let's do a record. And I said, got one in the studio in St. Augustine. He said, that's not going to have the vintage gear that if you want to do the kind of records I do, we really
to have the sound you wanted.
That's right. We need to go somewhere else. I said, let me send you an equipment list of Retrophonics, which is It's all vintage, the cream de la creme. Because Jim DeVito, the guy
all
who owns
tube
it,
stuff.
all tube stuff, tape,
Boutique
and
amps.
it's not just tube tape. He's been collecting since early '60s. So he's had 3 or 4 of this one coveted piece that everybody in the world wants, and he's settled on that 1 out of 4. You know what I mean? And anyway, make a long story short, we came home and did the record there. And because Dan was like, "Oh yeah, we can do a record at Retrophonic Studio." So, and it's the only studio I've really recorded in since I've been doing this.
That was your first one?
Yeah, that was Blackwater. I actually recorded before then, and I recorded in a friend of mine's home studio, and then I've done some stuff in my own home studio. But the bulk of the stuff's always been recorded at Retrophonics in St. Augustine in Crescent Beach.
Were you gigging in London?
Yeah, I did probably 2 gigs a month.
Wow.
Maybe for
Any
maybe a gig a month.
Any notable places?
Well, the first one,
The
Ronnie
Cavern or
Scott's,
anything?
Ronnie Scott's.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Wow.
In London, and that was the first. I only played there once, and that was. I loved that kind of a vibe. You know, everybody's at table and they got the lamp, and you know, it looks like Goodfellas or something.
Yeah.
But it was
The dinner theater.
Nobody was really
Yeah.
eating dinner in there, but it's kind of the dinner theater vibe. I
Cool,
like that.
yeah.
Like doing it at the Alhambra.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, London's cool. I like a lot of British movies like Snatch and all, you know, that kind of stuff. I love that scene over there. It
We
looks
watch
cool.
British TV pretty much. Of course, my wife's, they're from Britain, but it's just more like watching TV that makes sense from 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Plus, some of it now I'm just like, whatever. It's,
My experience with the Europeans is, if you want to categorize that against American listening audience, the Europeans are into that music.
oh, yeah.
You know, you get American acts, and JJ can talk about it. You tour around U.S. and you go to Europe, it's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different feedback. They're really into the artist and the lyrics and the content. Maybe you can speak on that a little bit.
You know, I think the love of it is obviously everywhere, but one of the things about Europe is that they don't, in America, there can be, not so much in the world that I play in, but in general, there's an expiration date, a hard expiration date for everything. Like that's so yesterday, so to speak. In Britain, they don't have all those kind of, or not just Britain, France, all of the continent,
Right.
and Britain and Ireland. They don't have an hard expiration date like, oh, well, you can't listen to that. You know, we're on to the next one, and they're like, no, I'm gonna listen to everything. You know, they're a little more. I'm gonna listen to everything.
Yeah, very eclectic.
Well, you know, England originated a lot of the most famous artists ever.
Absolutely,
Came out of England.
absolutely,
Britain, yeah.
absolutely. I love England for a lot of reasons. I didn't at first. It's cold. It's like I used to make fun of it because they talk.
Because it ain't like Florida.
Yeah, they talk different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But eventually, I realized how many wonderful things that were adopted from Britain into America, from I guess culturally or whatever. That the things I just took for granted. So, just even Magna Carta, which not to get in a crazy historical debate or nothing, but it kind of led to the Constitution.
Right.
Here, you know what I mean? Without Magna Carta, we wouldn't even have a Constitution.
Right.
And the idea of the English idea of every person's home is their castle, so to speak, is like
Eminent domain.
a self-sovereignty, individual sovereignty. It's
Yeah.
sort of a concept that was not.
That's what led
everywhere.
to the castle doctrine in law. Led to the castle doctrine.
How many albums have you done?
I've got, I think, 7. I know there's an 8th, which is the live record. But I think, let me see, Blackwater, Loch Lusa, Country Ghetto, Orange Blossoms, George Warhorse, This River, Old Glory. That's 7.
You're about due for a best of. You've been around long
I
enough.
did one like called Choice Cuts, but it was just vinyl, and it was for
I've
a
got some.
short run that Alligator did once.
I tried to talk to JJ. I planted a seed a couple years ago. I said, dude, you've got so many diverse influences in your music. You may recall this conversation. I said, man, I'd love to hear you do a cover album of some of your biggest influences. I know who some of his influences are. I've heard JJ, Larry, you've heard JJ, but Jerry Reed. I mean, You talking about chicken picking?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I would love to hear JJ's version and interpretation of some of those songs and some of those artists that influence him, because we all kind of grew up in the same neck of the woods. So his influence are truly our influences. Right. And but you do have some. I know you mentioned earlier you've been in the studio or you've been writing. I know you've got a studio built at your house now. Are you able to elaborate on how far that process is?
It's getting there. I mean, all the tracks are done. I've just got to finish all the lyrics and finish all the singing, and it's mainly I got to finish the lyrics. The singing could happen in a week, but it's the lyrics are getting there.
Yeah, they come in pieces, don't they?
They do, and
they come in waves, and then you build it almost
right.
like writing a book. Maybe a month before you come up with a whole other segment.
Absolutely.
To a song, or
it's just like in baseball, playing baseball or basketball. Even basketball is a great one. Waiting for the roll to happen. You get on the roll, which is you just get in the moment.
When you're on a roll, you got to jump on it.
That's right.
Because it goes away for a while.
As soon as you start thinking, it's gone. And that's why like when I played basketball, the only way into it for me was defensively. Because if you think about offense, you struggle. You got to think defense. Just defense, and then your offense will come. And you hear people say it, and it sounds cliche, but until you've done it, it don't come until you let go of it. You're trying to hold on to it.
Let it flow.
Colonel Bruce said to seek it is to deny it. So he was right. So I got to let it come as it comes.
Yeah.
Are you doing co-writes or mostly just you?
It's just same
I got you.
I've always done, yeah.
You know that JJ, that what you're talking about has a martial arts philosophy to it.
Absolutely.
To what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any great effort, all the effort is in learning it, and then once you learn it, you got to let go of it. So then you can really do it.
Yeah.
Same way with playing an instrument as well.
Tell us a little bit about your martial arts that you're involved in. You got a couple of them martial artists here in the room with you. So.
I love it. I'm at Fernandina Dojo up in Fernandina, and Sensei Watkins, Sean Watkins, he's my sensei, and I'm just glad I get to learn all kinds of different arts in one place. What I mean? And just it's fun.
And it's like golf; you never master it.
Absolutely, but for me, if somebody said, "Well, right now, if you had to defend yourself, what would you do?" I'd just be throwing haymakers and hoping somebody breaks it up quick. I don't know enough to do anything, meaning that I'm still having to think my way through everything. So I'm a real rookie in it.
You're from the West Side, so haymakers and all that
right.
work real well over there.
Hey, well, one day it'll click and things will just start happening.
Parking lot or something.
Yeah.
Hey, when all else
Without
fails,
thinking about it.
Run.
Yeah, I was really good at getting out. Just when I see it coming, just like I'm out of here, man. I ain't sitting around for
Them guys are doing. I grew up. Richie Smith was a buddy of mine. I don't know if you know Richie.
Yeah, I knew Richie.
Tom Berry.
Yeah.
Those guys. They fought all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jimmy Judge got me in a bunch of them.
I knew Jimmy Judge for a long time. We went to school together since 7th grade.
Okay. Yeah.
So
we went to school together. He's got ALS. Do you know that?
somebody Ricky told me that. Ricky.
Yeah. Ricky's a big friend of ours. So, Ricky saved me and Jimmy's ass on the beach in Anastasia one time. That's a good story. They'd gotten a fight the previous weekend at McDonald's in St. Augustine. We're on the beach. I've been drinking a little bit, as in a lot. And these 2 truckloads of guys come up, and they were looking for the guys that had been in a fight with one of their brothers the previous weekend. And obviously it was just me and Jimmy and a couple of our friends left who mysteriously disappeared in the middle of this. I got hit with a roll of quarters. That scar right there is what the result of it. Got knocked into a car. Jimmy hit one of them and took off down the beach because there was like 20 of them.
You got to run sometimes.
Hey, he hit one and dropped what he could and took off running. At least get him off of me. You know what I mean?
Blind him.
About that time, Ricky comes down the beach in a 4-wheel drive. And he didn't even drive. He drove like hot cars.
That was Anastasia?
Yeah, it's Anastasia. So he drove down the beach, and those guys scattered. He put Jimmy in the truck. They shot down there and got me. Jimmy took me to the hospital, and I was so drunk and mad, I said, no, I'm going home. Left that thing in that big old scar. I butterfly stitched it, but that was it. But on the West Side, that was like a regular thing over there back in the day.
Yeah, you kid. I thought the whole world lived like we did. And, I sat down and counted up how many people I knew had been shot or killed back then.
If you weren't getting in a fight once a week, you weren't leaving the house.
I did great dodging it all But it was always it was it was easy to get into something.
It was.
I tried.
You didn't want to hang out at Pizza Hut on Normandy Boulevard on Friday
Mr.
night
Gaddy's.
after a game's too long.
Mr. Gaddy's.
Mr.
parking lot was
Gaddy's.
all-
Oh yeah.
I seen somebody get shot, or their truck got shot up right there. Not at Gaddy's, but right there in that corner of where Normandy and Lane.
What is it about Mr. Gaddy's?
Zayre's parking
It
lot.
was so good.
Zayre's
Back in
parking
high
lot
school,
right
we
there.
got in a few fights at Mr. Gaddy's parking lot.
It was great.
Yeah.
Junior Davis.
Something about Mr.
Junior
Gaddy's.
Davis.
His truck got shot up one night right there.
His roommate shot him.
Did he?
Yeah. Apparently, Junior was, he was always fighting. And apparently, he got up and slapped the roommate, and they was drinking. Everybody had a gun. He just shot and killed him.
I didn't know how he went out,
Yep.
but I knew that's that's how stuff was, man. I tell people, life was kind of cheap. I didn't realize it till I had left and gone other places, and it would take things the wrong way so fast. And I'm like, man, everybody else ain't as. Well, I mean, it's pretty tight. People pretty tight on the wire out there where I was and where we all came from, and all the way out in the Clay Hill. They wasn't about one. Some of them just have a mentality. They ain't about one way to deal with something, and it's a way.
You gotta watch your words.
Well, I think you address it really well when you do, and it's on YouTube. You guys can look it up. But your monologue to Lock Loosa, and I think you probably went through a mindset change on how your perspective and how you kind of look through life. And if people should actually, Lock Loose is a great song, but if you really want to delve into that mindset that we're talking about of what it was and what it really should be now, go listen to JJ's monologue and listen to how he addresses his fans when he talks about, hey guys, you just got to let it go.
Yeah.
You got to let it go.
Cold beverage
And
choice.
and that comes from life lessons, if I'm not mistaken. I think that just comes from going through the fire.
Absolutely. And just the whole, if you don't let it go, you end up in a Hatfield-McCoy type situation, whether it's, and it don't even have to be, it could be a Hatfield-McCoy type situation where it doesn't involve two families warring with each other, or it can just be the baggage that you're carrying. It filters everything you see, so you don't get to see all the good things going on because all you doing is
Focusing
still
on the
seeing
bad.
everything through
Feeding
the
the
filter of
negativity.
what happened. Well, that ain't what's happening now. And before long, you can't tell the difference between what happened and what is happening now. And so you don't even pay attention. It can happen listening to the news too much. We all know what's going on.
I quit listening to the news. Too much negative input in my brain daily.
People do bad things.
Yeah.
It happens, but it's not happening 99% of the time,
No.
or 95%. It's happening a small percentage of the time, and you just got to deal with it.
Well, that's why police officers, live in the life they do, the career they do. They see that all day long.
Absolutely.
They see is the worst of the worst all day long, and people wonder why sometimes they're different, or they may have a different
I
perspective.
stay with my dog at the house a lot just because I can
But
throw the ball with her and it's not negative.
I was just talking to somebody the other day about that to be a policeman, you'd have to be. It takes a personality, like a soldier, like Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL. Or former Navy SEAL. You have to have enough positivity that it won't crack your shell dealing day in, day out, all day long. And it's not just dealing with people robbing banks or killing the domestic stuff. My dad told me some of the most dangerous stuff he's ever been on is domestic stuff. He's like, that's where people get so mad that
A lot of officers get shot on those calls.
exactly. And he's telling
Shot
me
at.
jail or the prison is full of people who are sane and normal, and just one instant they could.
They got emotionally hijacked or made one sudden bad act
that's the most dangerous.
bad judgment, and they're gone for
Traffic
life.
stops and domestics.
Yeah.
But when I came on the department in '88, JJ's dad, I remember Mr. Higginbotham. He had already seen the pinnacle of his career, so he was on Easy Street when I came on in '88. But to his point, when old County Road Patrol or Old City, you're talking about '60s, '70s in Jacksonville. It was Wild West. I mean, it was rough.
Absolutely.
And I'm just curious. How did your dad deal with it? Most of us try to
compartmentalize
leave.
some of that
Yeah,
stuff
we
and break it out so it
didn't
doesn't
bring it
affect everything
home.
else in your life.
We didn't bring that job home with us when you come through the door. You put the uniforms up, and there's if somebody came to visit, they wouldn't even know you were the police. How did coming up living as a child of a police officer? Did Dad leave it at the door?
He left it at the door. That said, I saw it grind on him though.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I could see that it grind on him.
Wear on him.
Over the years. But it because he did Vice for a long time as well, and then like you're saying, he started out on County Road Patrol, and went all the way through and when the consolidation and JSO but he's gone now. I mean, he had to where Ed White High School is right now. He had to shoot somebody there one night years ago. And
wow!
Didn't kill him, but it's like he made light of it. But I can still tell it bothers anybody to have to do that. But sometimes it's just what you have to do. You know what I mean? Because back then, and the people he were dealing with, life was really, really cheap. Some old like Dixie Mafia kind of cats, and so it was like. And Daddy said the headlights were pointing straight up, so he knew the trunk was full.
Yeah, it's a you or them thing.
Yep.
I think your dad, when he worked Vice, is when Outlaws were really big in Jacksonville, and they were bombing. There was one guy, I think it was Jacksonville, where their car bomb went off, and I want to say your dad might have worked that case, if I'm not mistaken.
He told me something about that. He told me there was I remember driving out to Maxville on Normandy, and there was a trailer out there near Yellow Water Road. And he said somebody was going to bomb. I don't know if they bombed the trailer or going to bomb the trailer as a witness against somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So it was pretty rough. And then Paxson had some, especially in the early 60s, and had some
Junior Bullard.
Junior Bullard. I didn't want to say nobody's
You
name.
can't. That's all right. He's passed away now.
Yeah, I heard that.
He died of stomach cancer in prison.
Yeah.
My dad said he just come up hard, and so he was hard, and and that's just the way
I heard
it
many
is.
stories, and he's very unassuming.
Well, one of the guys that ran with Junior was a guy named Otto Rafuse, and Otto Rafuse Jr. went to high school with me at Ed White, and I graduated in '81, and I just reached back to Otto. He's an attorney here in town. Junior is, but Otto Rafuse Sr. He grew up right there at Manitowoc and Old Middleburg. That was that group. But when you go back and you talk about the Bullards, some of those boys, listen. It was a respect mano y mano on the west side and north side.
My cousin
back in
was
those days.
one of me and Steve's cousins. James was in prison. The one we did, James, he was in prison. He said there was a brief period where he was somewhere with Junior Bullard, and he goes, even he was an old man then. He goes, but when he walked through, he had a couple of guys with him. He goes, they always gave him wide berth because he was a Golden Gloves boxer, and apparently very unassuming, but had hard hands and would get with it. But he was very quiet. And unassuming, you'd never guess he was that mean, but he was.
He took a police car from
He did.
on Heckscher Drive, not too far from where you stay.
Yeah.
He got pulled over, and I won't say her name. I don't want to embarrass her, but she was taking Junior for the ride for the bologna sandwich, and Junior wasn't hungry that night. So Junior took her ride and headed and skedaddled on down Heckscher Drive.
He shot a friend of mine, brother or cousin.
Over on Beaver Street.
This was
Pony Liquors.
I can't remember. It was a deal where it was really a beef between him and somebody else, and the guy wouldn't let it go, and he kept on, and Junior was like, one more word, and
Hatfield McCoy.
the guy stepped in between them to break it up, and he's the one that got shot. That's what I always heard. I have no idea. My next door neighbor's dad used to drink with him at Pat and Mike's a lot over on Cassett back in the day. But I never met the man. I just knew he was enemy number one for a long time, the sheriff's office. Back then, way back when, that wasn't a good place to be.
No.
Either. And it was deservedly so. I mean,
oh, yeah.
he wasn't no angel. But
I understood they sent Tom Votour after him.
It would probably take for Junior a couple of Toms.
You think?
Yeah,
I think
Junior.
one Tom might
You
pull
got to
that
understand, policemen have to play by the rules.
That's right.
Junior had no rules.
Tom didn't.
Yeah.
Tom was next level.
Yeah, there should be a book written about Junior and some of those boys back then because it really was the mafia.
He shot.
That's what I call it, the Dixie Mafia. And there was a real one in Tennessee and Mississippi, the one that tried to have the Biloxi mayor assassinated, or maybe he did.
Maybe you could write the song "Ode to Junior Bullard."
It's too close to home.
It might
Somebody
be.
might get
Statute of limitations. They wore off
think
on
about
it.
that.
Well, JJ, they mentioned Anastasia. Let's talk about what you got going on upcoming with, you've got a couple big shows coming up at St. Augustine Theater.
Yeah. One of my favorite venues.
Great venue.
Yeah.
One of my
Kind of
favorites.
tell us about that, kind of that lineup and what's going on with that, because you're headlining that. You're at Tampa Blues. You're headlining a Friday night down there. I just saw the other day where you're going to be playing at the Memphis Blues Festival, which, I mean, that's kind of like the coup de grace. I mean,
awesome.
Memphis, that's right there on the Delta.
And it's right on the river.
It's right on the river. So let's talk about St. Augustine. I don't know if those tickets are sold out yet or not, but I know
there's still tickets. Show's doing good though, but there's 2 nights, and had Allman Betts band coming in, but they had to cancel it.
Well, if you need
I saw them at St. Augustine.
me and Larry can fill in now. I mean, we'll do some Charlie Daniels, long-haired country boy. We do it.
Ben Harper's stepped in and is going to do it, which is awesome. And then there's going to be a group, Larkin and Poe. They're great. They played with us in Salt Lake City sometime this past year in the summer, obviously, because it was an outdoor show, so wouldn't have been in the winter in Salt Lake City, although it can be warm there in the winter. But and then my buddy Eugene Snowden, who's phenomenal. He's from Orlando, and he's a real deal. Holyfield. He's playing, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I love the venue. It's one of my favorite venues.
Now, you're headlining both nights. Now, are you going to pretty much mix it up a little bit?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We're gonna do rehearsals. I think it's next week. Is it next week? No, we got this weekend. It's not the following weekend. Leading into it, we're going to rehearse and work on some stuff, and maybe break out a couple of new tunes too as well. So that'll be on the next record, and it's going to be fun. I've never not had a blast there.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Double negative work.
It's the West Side. We're all right. We can do what we want.
Well,
Is it going to be like an annual event? Because I know that you and I have discussed that, maybe creating that
Like a festival.
hometown thing. And,
So what happened was years ago, I got my former manager, God rest his soul, one of my best friends that died in November. We did a festival there and I called it Blackwater Soul Review. We got Los Lobos and Tony Joe White and Toots and the Maytals. This is all spread out over two different years that we did it. And I just saw real quick that I didn't really need to be in the festival business. It ain't all it's cracked up to be. You know, people think it's...
Believe me, I know.
I know. It's a lot of work. And I was like, okay, I don't need this. I just want to show up and play, you know. So we didn't do it. And then Judy Janessa owned Freebird. She's like, hey, I want to take that name and do a festival out in Swanee. She just called it Blackwater Music Festival. And she put it on for a couple of years, and she's like, I'm done with the festival business. Her own self, she's like, I'm out too. So
That was Judy that did that?
I know Judy.
2 years maybe, and maybe she might have did 3 years, but I know she did 2 years. So then we
Remember when she was doing that?
Did that become Wani Fest, or is that totally
that was
different.
already going.
I got you.
And so then went back and playing St. Augustine again, and we're just playing our own show, and then my manager's like, why don't you just call it Blackwater Soul Review again, just for the fun of it, because it was like we're about a month out of the show. The show's already done, and I'm like, okay. So we did, and the show did well, sold out, and gave the promoter down there, he's like, hey, let's do it again, and this time let's blow it out and do 2 nights. Well, he's going to do 3 days full with bringing in some reggae acts as well, and put up 3 stages, one right down by the ocean there in the parking lot, the big parking lot, and they're going to allow camping on the beach, which they've never done before in Anastasia, and there's the main stage, which is the amphitheater, and then they got a smaller stage in the campground area, and they got another big stage down by the water. And so he's like, let's just go for it and blow it out. So that's how it that's how it all kind of came.
And that's
about.
this one coming up, the 11th and 12th, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think it might even be the 13th. We're playing the 11th and 12th, but they're made their Sunday as well. I'll probably go watch that as well because they're bringing in some stuff for that as well on the beach stage. I don't know if there's anything on the main. There may be some stuff on the main stage as well. I got to check that out. I'm terrible, man, when it comes to schedules and remembering stuff.
Yeah, most artists are. You get a sheet of paper. It says, "Be here at this time. Stand right." And then, but once you hit the stage, you're in your lane. yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I get punch drunk from all of it too, all the different dates and times and stuff.
But you've been all over the world, haven't you?
Yeah, luckily enough. Yeah.
What's some of the biggest places that were memorable for you?
I loved playing Fuji Rock in Japan.
Wow.
That was fun. It's about 5 hours or so north of Tokyo, out in the mountains. That was awesome.
Nice.
I can't wait to go back to Japan now and go to Kyoto and
especially now.
sword manufacturers and different things like
Judo
that.
originally,
That's right. And dig into some of that a little bit. I love playing the Byron Bay Blues Festival in Australia, in Byron Bay.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, of course, Red Rocks is another.
I was going to mention
Yeah.
Red Rocks is probably
It's up there
because it's got the feel that you said you like.
Absolutely.
That, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's looking up at it, and then the audience looks at you, and when you're at a show there, you get to look over because the act, whoever's playing is much lower than you. They're down here, and the audience is up there, and then they get to look down towards you and see you, and then look right over the top of you and look out across towards Denver, towards Denver.
Were you doing one-offs at Red Rock, or were you doing 2 nights there?
One-offs.
One-offs, yeah.
JJ, I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about St. Augustine Amphitheater, when I saw Allman Betts, they were in the back behind the regular stage in like an open field, which is part of the amphitheater, but I'd never been to a performance in this part. And it was all stand-up only. So it was an open grass field, and they had the stage there, and you could stand right at the stage. And they were right there. I could reach up there and grab their pant legs, And it was just a really cool feel because it was almost like a festival environment. But I'd never done that at amphitheater before until then.
The amphitheater?
Yeah, it's part of the amphitheater. And you know who else? Dawes had a show there, and he was in the back. And you've got all the concession places set up and the bathrooms and all that stuff, but there's no chairs. And I think behind his stage was the actual, the seating part that you normally go to. So I don't know if you've ever done that, but I thought it was cool. Everybody seemed to love it. They had thousands of people squeezed in back there.
He's got all that stuff. You should see his garage.
So, JJ, I do collect memorabilia. You know that.
Absolutely.
But this boy right here, I went over to his house the other day.
Okay.
This boy right here, he got Greg Allman's Harley Davidson.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then the other day, he picked up some Skinner Gold Records, and I'm like, I hate you.
I get them from Melody, but I got about 10 of them.
Yeah.
So
it's a thing.
And I brought a guitar for you to sign.
Absolutely.
And I was in a hurry.
Really?
No,
That's my guitar.
It's mine. I brought this guitar for you to sign, so don't let Norm tell you it's his.
Hey,
Okay.
So this
JJ,
is
you know who it is. I'm bigger than him. I will.
So JJ, he calls me. He goes, "Bring one of your guitars for JJ to sign." And I got in a hurry and left and got here. And he goes, "You bring your guitar?" I'm like, I said, I knew I forgot something. Yeah. So I might try to get up with you later.
Absolutely.
Or I might just have you at the house if you'll come over.
You'll love it. It's out on the river in Mandarin. It's
Nice.
beautiful.
Yeah, I'm right down the street from
Have a private party.
Yeah.
from Derek and Susan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Julian Creek.
yeah, 2 miles. I'm on Manor Road. They're on Julington Creek.
I got you.
But it's a fun little place to hang out, and you can play music there because we got real amps.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we got real amps and all that stuff. So,
Nice.
JJ don't do house parties
and
anymore.
Gregory's motorcycle. No, this is gonna have to be like a friend's thing. So
He's got a great place over there, and I will say I went over there the other day, and it's like, was it 3 levels to your house?
yeah, 3-story. Yeah,
And you go down on the bottom level, and it is the quintessential man cave. You would love it. And he's got that Harley sitting over there, and I'm like, dude.
that was
is
Greg's
so nice.
1996 Got Sober bike. The year he got sober, and it meant a lot to him. and it's all done up in the mushrooms and full on Allman Brother colors, like that one album they had that was all blue with the mushroom on it and stuff. He kind of did that. That was the same year he did. I'm trying to think of the name of the album that came out. I'll think of it in a minute. But the part of the artwork for the album, the motorcycle's in there too. So I just kind of got lucky with that. But,
Speaking of Allman Brothers, Macon, Georgia, Phil Alden, I believe, him and his brother owned Capricorn Records. Elvin Bishop, Charlie Daniels cut up there, Allman Brothers, Skinnerd. One of the groups up there, you may be familiar with this, or I may have mentioned this to you before, they've reopened Capricorn Studios. And it is now a full-fledged studio. And I know a lot of the guys like Charlie from Blackberry Smoke, they actually went in there. I don't know if you talked with them about it, but they went in there and cut either a few singles or a full album in there. And then my buddy Travis Dennings from Warner Robins, they did.
That's pretty cool.
Man, I mean, I know you're locked into where you are, and it's easy to go just leave your house and go back to your studio, but just sometimes the nostalgia.
That's right, just doing something different.
Yeah,
Probably
go up
cool
there
to
and
just look at them anyway.
Yeah, go up there. And then, have you ever been to the Big House Museum up there?
No,
I have. It's cool.
I've been to there's a small Otis Redding museum across the street from the theater there downtown where we play at in Macon. There's a little Otis Redding museum type thing. But I haven't been to the Allman one.
Well, people don't know this, but Otis Redding Jr. lives in downtown Jacksonville.
That's it.
He lives at one of the high rises right across from Chart House. He's neighbors with my daughter-in-law's parents over there.
I got you.
Yeah, he's. I think he does music. I think he actually has a studio.
I like
in
there's
his
new
condo.
music coming out that's had the influences, the stuff that we grew up on. You mentioned Blackberry Smoke. Whiskey Myers is one they've got some cool sounds, and they had a kind of cross section. They've got some they played a lot of their music on Yellowstone. Actually, they were in one of the scenes for Yellowstone playing in the bar, so it was kind of cool. Love to see you do something like that, man. You'd fit right in. And your music's such a wide variety of music, and I play, like I was playing them, and I don't think he'd heard like On Palestine, Footsteps. I mean, some of the stuff I said, man, I just love this stuff. Everybody loves Lock Loose, who wouldn't? But and me and my wife drove one time down south. I said, we got to go down here. Because he sings about this, and we drove, and there's like a little parking area, and you just look at the lake. It's a lot of fishing goes on, a lot of bass fishing and stuff. But yeah, you've lived an extraordinary life.
Speckled perch in winter time.
Yeah.
Loch Lusa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Lake Orange.
Well, he knows my favorite song, and he won't play it in like first night of the tour. He'll tell you, man, come to the third night of the tour because Brave Little Fighter. Oh, yeah. And he told me the story behind that. But that, when you do stripped down powered acoustic on that, I mean, you can do a full band too, but just to hear that every time you hit that note on that guitar, it's like piercing. That, to me, that's my favorite song. And if you guys out there have not heard Brave Little Fighter by J.J. Gray, go get it. I mean, there's no reason for you not to have it on your song list and play it. But me and Larry, we get into things where we've got the songs everybody listens to, but we like to dig a little deeper. We're like me, him, and Steven. You got us on group text where we'll be sending back, YouTube videos of, okay, here's JJ cut, and you haven't heard this one before, and we're trying to find that next song that we can relate to. And I sent you a text the other day. I worked with Carrie Lewis, who was Jerry Lee Lewis's wife for 21 years, and she lives still in Memphis, and she was a performer as well. And I turned her on the other day, I said, we're going to be doing this thing. And she goes, oh, well, who was that? And I sent her a few songs, and I sent you the thing. I'm like, she's a fan. So now she's following you, and you'll see if you get on your social media, it'll say Killerette Lewis. Oh, wow, I love this. She started commenting on a lot of your stuff. So she's a fan now. And I told these guys before you came in this business, most people's, their shelf life in this business is one album if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So to get here and to be able to extend this career 20, 30 years, and I'll be honest with you, I think you're just hitting your stride. I think you're just getting to the good juice in the berry. I think there's a lot of good stuff to still come out from J.J. Gray and Mofro, and it's an underground thing because for what I do in the music business promoting, this isn't something you're going to turn on Sirius XM all the time or your FM channel. You got to go find this music. And when you find this music, you will not let it
Do you find out how many people, their favorite songs aren't your hits? Aren't necessarily your hits? They're the ones that, like he said, you dig for, and you go, man, I can really relate to that song. I like that song.
Absolutely. Funny enough, my new manager was just saying his favorite song is on Palestine, which is another song about another lake, Palestine Lake out there in Union County. So,
You know, the Eagles did their greatest hits before they hit the top of their stride. They had already done a greatest hits album, but they got even bigger, and then came out with Hotel California and all that.
If you look at your trajectory, and like you said, you're just hitting your stride. I'm sure you've been around. And you see some of these artists in every type of music. They reach that diva status, and you're centered and humble, and that's a rare thing, even in any human being. So I commend you, and I'm honored. I tell you right now, this is probably one of the most exciting days I've had to have somebody on, and it was you. So
thanks.
And to know your background and the music you put out, and the kind of stuff that I grew up on, and the influences you've had, and the music you've done. I mean, I've loved it. When we went to Tallahassee, my mouth was hanging open. It takes a lot to get.
Yeah, I called Larry. He was over there on FOP business. I said, "Hey, man, you still in Tallahassee?" Yes. I said, "Well, I'll be over there." I think it might have been a Thursday night show. He goes, "What are you coming?" I said, "I'm going to go see JJ." "Oh man, I gotta go. Can you get me in?" I'm like, "Let me text him." But yeah, I mean,
it was great, man.
We relate to it. We grew up with it, and the fact that you still draw from your own personal experiences and write your own music, that's an anomaly, because a lot of the artists out there right now, the one they're letting other people interpret their music for them, and I think that can be a mistake. I think the best person to interpret your music is you yourself. You can spin somebody else's music, but the real interpretation comes from the guy that put it together. And I think that's why you have the success and the following that you have.
God gifted you, man.
Man, I've been lucky too. I've been surrounded by great people that I haven't really met a jerk that I can think of in all these years, and even in the music business. And I'm now, maybe I'm out here on the. I'm in the same venues that all these different I'm in House of Blues or whatever, Florida Theater, all these different same venues. So I was thinking I might be just in some other kind of bubble or circle where everybody's cool, but I just haven't met a jerk. But I will say this: 99.9% of the people that I run into on the road are road dogs. Even if they're famous, even if they've been around, they put in a lot of work and a long time on the road itself. And the road will humble you anyway.
It's a grind.
Oh, that's a statement straight from the band. From I think Robbie Robertson said that the road will humble you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. He's absolutely right.
Because look how much time they spent on the road before you even knew who they were.
Right.
That's back in the '60s, but they started, I think, in the late '50s. Early 60s, before anybody even knew who they were. They were on the road for 10, 15 years playing every little, like Leonard Skinner would say, every little honky-tonk.
I'll tell y'all a quick JJ story. So we talked about JJ and who his influences are. I booked a festival in Dothan, Alabama, and I had the privilege of booking JJ that day. My headliner was Hank Jr., and you remember this. I had Blackberry Smoke, JJ. Well, JJ and Blackberry had already played that day, and Hank flies in on his plane with Kid Rock, and they pulled up in their Suburbans, and soon as Kid Rock bails out, he goes, he says, "Hey man, had Blackberry Smoke already played?" Because that was some of his buddies. I said, "Yeah, them and JJ Gray." He goes, "JJ Gray and Mofro?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh dude, I gotta meet him. You remember that? Yeah. And JJ was on his bus. I texted him. I said, "Hey, dude, Kid Rock just showed up with Hank, and he wants to meet you." So when Hank played, we had a little VIP thing set up over there for those guys, and Blackberry Smoke was already up there, and here come JJ. Now, he dressed up, boy. He got the white patent shoes on. Good. Yeah, he's sharp dressed man. Yeah. I think ZZ Top might have wrote a song about it.
Jimmy told me that.
Oh, yeah.
Rich is his neighbor.
Yeah. Okay.
Next door neighbor.
Yeah. You think he's preaching the way, but he came up there, and Bobby was up there with his now his wife, I think, Audrey, and turned around and introduced him, and that was their thing. And I mean, so here's an artist, Kid Rock, And all I had to say was JJ Gray and Mofro. Are they here? They're still. I want to meet him. So as much as he's influenced by artists, he's got to realize too that his music actually reaches out to them. I think there's an authenticity there that sometimes when music is too commercialized, you lose touch with it. But that is not to be said about his music, and these artists actually appreciate that. So that was just one JJ story that I personally have, where an artist of international influence at that stature, all he really wanted to do that day was meet that man right there, and we set that up. You remember it?
Oh yeah,
it was a good day.
And funnily enough, Kid Rock Bobby remembers it because I played a party this past summer. This was like 70, 80 people that he was at in Wisconsin, way up and almost in way up there in the top of Minnesota, but on the Wisconsin side of the line. And he came up and he brought that up, that
Did
show up, you know. And I said something about the word time, and he stopped and he took his watch off and he gave me his watch, and it's like a gold Timex, like $30 watch from Walmart, but it's the old school, like press the button, it lights up with the old digital. He said, anybody I like that says the word time, I give him my watch, and he gave me his watch. But he must have had an alarm set for bus call like at 3 a.m. because it would go off at my house at 3 a.m. all the time. I wasn't there. I got the watch and I brought it home, and I told my wife the story and I left it in the office. She says, I don't know what's, every night at 3 a.m. something's beeping and going crazy in your office, and it was Bobby's watch.
That is. Did you ever figure out how to turn it off?
Yeah. But he remembered that.
I gave him a gift one time. We were over in New Orleans. Him and Samantha Fish was playing the Orpheum, and I went out with a buddy of mine into Bayou where they filmed Swamp People. And I saw them gator heads. Well, I'm a Seminole, but I know boy down there, he's a gator.
And a Seminole. I'm weird.
Yeah. But remember, I came back to the theater, and I got with, what's the tour manager guy? Mike. I got with Mike. I had a brown bag. I said, hey, you might not want to open this. I said, but give this to him. And it was a little gator head.
Yeah.
You keep that on the bus, or is it?
Yeah, I still got it. And I got the straps your buddy made too.
Yeah.
Guitars.
Yeah, we hook him up. We got to take care of him. You know. We got to tell him where to go, where to stand, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, he represents us. So.
But it's just having a tour manager, and it's done the same thing the iPhone does to your memory. You can't got one anymore. You can't remember nobody. You remember everybody's phone number when you was a kid.
Yeah.
You can't remember a phone number now to save your life.
No.
And if somebody's there to say, hey, look, got to be here, this.
Well, that's their job. Your job is to be the creative music maker, and they handle all the details that nobody wants to do.
I'm trying to, and I don't want to be babysat, so I try to stay on top of it. Especially I get in a road mode. I don't. There's sheets everywhere telling us what time we're going to leave, where we're at, and all that good stuff. But I can. I've had a couple of things where I didn't have a tour manager there, and I was putting a new roof on the pump house out there in Maxville, and it was like a Friday evening, and I was going to do a solo show the next night, Saturday, in Lake Worth, and I was like,
I think I heard this story.
Phone rang while I'm up there on the roof, screwing the metal down, and your guest list tonight, down. I'm like, you mean tomorrow night? And she's like, okay, tomorrow night, yeah. Do you have anybody? I'm like, no, it's all good, it's all taken care of. Okay. And then I went back to work, and I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder if the phone rang again. It's tonight.
And you're in Maxville, Florida.
It's down here in Lake Worth, and you got to play it in 3 hours. So needless to say,
were you a little stressed? When you got there?
Yeah, get down there.
Yeah.
And I got down around 10:30 or so, and
come flying up on the stage.
Went up there, and the same thing happened for a birthday party I was playing in Washington D.C. I sat down to watch a movie, and I thought Saturday.
How long ago was this?
This was a couple of years ago. Wasn't that long ago. And phone rang, and it was Chris who was doing the tour managing that one little show, and he was like, "Hey, where you at? We're at baggage claim." I'm like, "Don't even try it, man. I know y'all ain't there."
They're really at baggage claim.
Saturday night. Who does a birthday party on Friday night? It's on Saturday night.
Yeah.
No, it's tonight in Washington D.C.
Wow.
And I look up, my plane just left. But luckily, I drove to the airport as fast as I could, and then they're like, "Hey, the next flight's empty. We'll just put you on it. Don't worry about it." And they had a car waiting. I walked in 5 minutes before it was time to play.
Man, that's
It
outstanding.
worked out.
Did you do a shot beforehand
I probably
of
did
relaxant?
more than one.
Yeah, some kind of relaxant. Hey,
Today's been tremendous.
Yeah,
I can't
absolutely.
Thank you enough for coming. I know
Thank
you're a
y'all
busy
for
guy, and we just want to get you on and talk about it
Yeah.
and promote your upcoming show. And
No worries. Well, I couldn't talk about a lot of this anywhere else because nobody didn't even know what I'm talking about, like
Yeah.
West Side or
Yeah.
We speak your language.
Yeah.
yeah, we do.
yeah.
But after your new music drops and you get out promoting the new music, by all means, let's set it up. Come back.
Love to have you back,
and
right.
do it again. We can tee it up because I'm sure there's a lot more we can probably shoot a fat with.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JJ Gray, Mofro.
Thank you, sir.
Some
Thank you.
some homegrown Southern blues right here.
Yeah.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
You guys
Good
can
meeting
find
you,
him at jjgray.com. Look him up on his YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook,
All of it.
all of it.
Yeah.
Spend
Yeah.
some money.
Apple Music.
Look, I'm flying the shirt. I even bought the swag this week just for this. I got
download
the
some
Lock Loose
albums.
T-shirt.
All right.
He's got merch, and more merch. So go spend some money, help the boy out. You know, we all need help. And listen, you're not going to be disappointed. But don't just go download singles. Download the whole damn album because you're going to find nuggets in there that's going to blow your mind. That's what me and Larry do anyway. We find the
And then
nuggets.
send them to each other.
But we'll have. I think you guys should have JJ back after the new
If
music.
you'll, yeah,
drops.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you want to be back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, hey, we'll have you back as much as you want to come. So
Awesome.
appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
so that's a wrap. That's Real Jacks with Jim, Larry, Crawfish, and today's special guest, Stormin' Norman Brewer.
Thank you, buddy.
And
You're welcome.
and headliner JJ Gray,
Headliner JJ Gray.
Mofro,
Mofro.
Mofo, all that stuff.
Thanks again.
Outstanding. Thank
Hey.
you. That's it.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next time.